The Black Hills Gold Rush brought many legendary figures to Deadwood, South Dakota. From a well-respected sheriff to a rough and rowdy outlaw, these historical figures not only left a mark in the history books, but also on the town of Deadwood that we know and adore today. If you've watched the HBO series, Deadwood, you've probably become familiar with some of the men and women who made Deadwood the heart of the Wild West. Here's some facts you may not have known about the legends of Deadwood, South Dakota. Number 1. Wild Bill Hickok was only 39 years old when he died. James Wild Bill Hickok was wildly known as a deadly gunfighter, former Kansas sheriff, and for the iconic hand of cards he was holding when he was killed, the dead man's hand. In the HBO series, Wild Bill was played by actor Keith Carradine. At the time the series aired, Carradine was 55 years old. Given that Hickok lived such an adventurous life, you may have assumed that he was much older when his life ended, on August 2, 1876. Number 2. Seth Bullock and Wild Bill Hickok never met. Seth Bullock, famous Deadwood businessman and sheriff, along with his business partner Sol Starr, arrived in Deadwood just a day before Wild Bill was murdered. Contrary to what you may have seen on the HBO series, it was very unlikely that Bullock and Hickok met, let alone became allies. Although the iconic good guys did not share time in Deadwood together, both can still be found in the same history books and museums. Number 3. Calamity Jane helped care for the sick. Known for her foul-mouthed, belligerent, and masculine manner, Martha Calamity Jane became a heroine of the smallpox outbreak in 1876. Stories have explained that most of Calamity's patients lived through their sickness while under her care in the quarantine tents or pest houses. Although she went down in history as a frontierswoman, daredevil, and alcoholic, she was said to have a contrasting characteristic of compassion for others, which proved to be instrumental in the early stages. Deadwood, South Dakota. Number 4. Jack McCall's first trial was not legit. The trial of Jack McCall, the infamous murderer of Wild Bill Hickok, was the first trial that took place in Deadwood. The jury, which was made up of businessmen and miners, found McCall not guilty. It was said that McCall pleaded innocent for his actions because he was avenging the death of his brother, who was previously killed by Wild Bill in a gunfight. Since Deadwood was not yet a legal territory and just a mining camp, McCall was taken to trial for a second time in Yankton, South Dakota, where he was then found guilty and hung. Number 5. Wyatt Earp and Morgan Earp visited Deadwood. The famous gunslinging Earp brothers from Tombstone, Arizona visited Deadwood, South Dakota, in the fall of 1876. The two had an interest in the gold rush, but didn't end up staying in Deadwood very long. After finding that land and mining rights had already been claimed, Morgan left for Dodge City before winter, and Wyatt joined him in the spring.